What up? Hey, real quick, wanted to show you guys this cool kind of doodad that I set up to kind of help automate some of the positioning of where people go whenever you call them. Because one of the things that I've kind of noticed with some of the folks in the different groups that I'm in that I've talked to is that they are just calling from high level, or they're calling from like their phone, and they think that like, oh, like I've burned through all my leads, but in reality they actually just aren't doing good enough follow up, and so I've built kind of a little setup for it. So what I do is whenever I'm going to call a company, I plug them into this pipeline, and the pipeline is super simple. So it's just the priority list, meaning that like this is the list of people that I'm calling. If somebody shows interest but they don't book the appointment, they obviously get chucked into here. If somebody schedule a call, if they no show, if I need to do like more long-term follow-up, so like if they showed up to the call but then just didn't buy and I just need to do a little bit more nurture, they land in here. And then obviously if you either totally like if you close the sale or if you just totally lose it and burn, then they go to closed and are marked as a win or a lose depending on whether or not you closed them. Now, one of the things that I do is I actually play pretty heavy into the automations and stuff. So I'll show you in here under my little cold call section. So I have five different automations that I have kind of going right now. So the first one that I have is just a basic dialer. So what happens is whenever I import the leads that I've scraped in, what I will do is I will add them to the dialer automation right away. And that does two things. Number one, it actually creates the opportunity under the priority list, assigns them a value, and marks them as open. And then it also goes ahead and plugs them into this manual call option, which is kind of like the way that you can do way faster calls. I know that Aliciana tried this out and she said she was able to like double her call volume by just kind of having this little doodad set up. So that's automation number one. That's just the dialer. Now, what happens if a lead doesn't answer? The way that I have it set up is that I have it set up around call dispositions. So whenever you make a call, what you set the disposition to will dictate kind of what happens to them. So in this case, if the disposition is set to no answer, then what it does is it waits 12 hours and then it throws them back into the dialer automation. And this is huge because what happens a lot of times that even if you have a dialer like this, what happens is that somebody will go and they'll call through all the leads they have, and if they don't book a deal, they're like, man, like I have to go get more leads. But in reality, if somebody didn't answer, like you should call them back again. And so this just gives a 12-hour buffer and then throws them back into the dialer so that you can, if you call them in the morning, 12 hours later, you can call them again in the afternoon slot if you call during that time, or it just kind of circles around and you call back the next day. Now, if a lead cusses you out, this is a biggie, right? So this doesn't actually happen that often, but if you get somebody who's like really resistant, like most of the time this happens if they think that you are a different company and that you've just been calling them a ton. Um, we have the disposition set to if you get cussed out, it updates the opportunity. So it leaves them in, actually, it should go into closed. And then, but it'll be marked as lost. Okay. And so that's important because then it'll update all the stuff, your data and your attribution reporting and stuff in high level will be accurate. And then you won't see them in the opportunity board anymore because the opportunity board by default only shows open opportunities. So they'll be marked in here, but then since they'll be lost, you won't see them. What I do from there is I also just go ahead and toss them onto D&D. So if somebody's like really not happy and doesn't want me to call them again, I just don't call them again because I figure it's like I may as well just go and spend all that energy on a new person who isn't like negatively inclined as opposed to trying to reconvert this guy. And then I go and I pull them all out of any workflows that I currently have them in. That way they don't accidentally get thrown back into my dialer later or something like that. And so these two things kind of serve as redundancy to make sure that I don't accidentally contact them again. Next up, we go to number three, which is that they show interest, but they don't book a meeting. This one's a little bit more kind of personalized. And so, um, depending on kind of the reason why somebody like may have been interested, but they're like, hey, maybe it's not a good time or what have you. All that this does is it moves them to the shown interest section. It leaves their thing open, but what it does is I have it set to wait 24 hours, so the next day, and then it just sends me a notification on my phone to go and follow up with them again manually. So it may be a thing where, they're like, hey, I may be interested, but I'm kind of busy right now. Can you just follow back up with me later? And then it kind of just is the reminder. so that you don't like lose somebody in the couch cushions. These are a little bit more complicated, and you'll have to kind of figure out like your own way to do this specific part because you don't want to just throw them back in the dialer because your script is going to be different when you call somebody for a follow up as opposed to like first contact. So that is that. And then the last thing that I have is I have a meeting booked section. So what I do is whenever somebody actually books the meeting on the calendar, I already have a thing set up to like send them the video and stuff. Then what I will do is I move them to call scheduled. They get assigned the opportunity value, and then I wait until 1 hour before the meeting that's scheduled. Okay. So like they automatically get the message before then. And then an hour before, I'll send this message like, hey, just making sure we're still on for so and so time. Reply yes to confirm or no if you need to reschedule. And so this kind of gives like a last minute opportunity for them to be like, hey, like now doesn't work. Or like they can confirm and you know that you're kind of ready to go. I like to include this because you don't always get response from people. And so you still will get some no shows. But the handful of times that somebody says no and that they need to reschedule, it helps a lot because then you don't like show up to a call that nobody's going to show up to. Right now, I'm basically just using Kai Stone's Julie Becker script, but there's a handful of other scripts that I want to play around with. Some that have some more like permission-based openers, and then there's one specifically from a Harmozy closing handbook that I have that I want to try out. So I'll be kind of like testing out different scripts and stuff just to kind of see like for my offer and for my prospects, like what do I get kind of the best response for. And that's kind of the way that I have it all set up. I basically just load my leads in every day and basically just kind of get the call in. So if you have like any questions about this sort of stuff, then drop a response or feel free to DM me at some point, and I would be very happy to help.